It's just Bruce, he don't bite. Hello.
Welcome. There are a lot of people talking about what it was like to be raised Gen X on the internet. Here is a bit from Bruce about what his Gen X childhood was like on a daily basis, without all the glamorization that most videos portray. He's not even going to talk about Star Wars toys this time. Let's see what the old man has to say, shall we?
Hey folks, thanks for tuning in again to my channel. Bruce coming at you. Today I want to talk about some Gen X stuff. And the reason I want to talk about it, some Gen X stuff is I made a big mistake this morning. It's my only day off and I'm supposed to do shop work and cut my grass today. Which I still am going to do my shop work after I'm done editing this video. This morning I woke up and I had a sweet tooth. And my wife left a tray of brownies unguarded in the kitchen and I ate them. And I'm 57 years old. I cannot eat brownies like I used to when I was a kid. That sugar made me dizzy all day. Yeah, I got a little problem with sugar. Messed me up the whole day. I'm still kind of dizzy. I'm still feeling kind of crappy because of that. And it got me to thinking, when I was a little kid, this wasn't a problem. I could eat a whole plate of brownies and, it made me hyper. Nope, not anymore. The sugar gets to me. I get a little dizzy. I'm like, yeah. Sucks getting old. I'm 57 years old, Gen X. Now, Gen X goes from 1965 to 1980. I was born in 68. So it got me thinking, and I got online, and I like to watch these other YouTubers, and there's some comedians out there always joking about Gen X, how hard it was, and making it sound like a war zone. And they're really funny. I'm not putting them down. But it got me thinking what it really was like for me growing up Gen X. So I'm going to go through what it was like for me being a Gen X kid between the 70s and early 80s. School life. And I'm going to talk about the school year, what it was like while school was in session, which was most of the year. And, of course, the weekends. And if there's time, I'll talk about summertime. Don't know how long this is going to go off. I have a few notes here. I'm not going to make it too long, so I might cut out the summer and make the summer. If you like this video, I might do the summer video in my next video. So, let's get started. And, let's start with the day beginning. So the school week would start on a Monday. Monday, first thing in the morning, 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning. I had to get up, get dressed for school, get my nice clean school clothes and books and stuff together, and go wait for the bus at the bus stop. Bus stops back then, we had to walk halfway down our street. It was a big conglomerate. All the kids would go to one main stop sign on the street, and there'd be like 20 or 30 of us, and the bus would come pick us all up at the same time. Not like they do today. I notice nowadays, the bus pretty much where I live, and I live not in the same area I grew up at, but I live in a similar area, and the buses go and pick the kids up right at their front doorsteps now, most of the time. There's one intersection where 3 kids get dropped off at the same time, and they only live like 2 blocks away. The parents are there every day in their car to drive them a couple hundred feet to go home, because little Johnny and Sally don't have to walk anymore. Shit, it was different when we were kids. If you missed the bus, guess what? You're walking to school, kiddo. Parents wouldn't get up and drive you to school. Nope, you're walking. Our school wasn't that far from my house. It was probably about a mile. But I did my share of walking to school when I missed the bus. Rain, snow, didn't matter. I very seldom got a ride to school. It was like, if you missed the bus, tough shit. You're walking. Like I said, Mom and Dad wouldn't come get us at the bus stop. Our bus stop was only, 50 yards from the house. It wasn't a big deal. That's just how we were raised. So we go to school, get off the bus at school, go to our classes. You probably remember that. Nothing really special in the classes. We have our best school shirts on and lunch boxes or, whatever, trapper keepers and the stuff we used to carry. We didn't have the phones and the computers and stuff back then, so we didn't really care about that. Go to a couple classes. Notice I didn't say anything about breakfast, because when I was growing up, we just didn't have breakfast. If you were lucky enough to have cereal in the house, you could grab a quick bowl of cereal, but usually there was no breakfast at my house. I don't know why. It's just the way I was raised. So we always look forward to lunchtime. Now, lunchtime in grade school and junior high specifically, I'm talking about, there was 2 kinds of lunches. You could buy your lunch, or you could bring it in a lunch box, or we called it brown bagging it, especially in junior high. It seemed like we didn't have the lunch boxes so much in junior high, but we did in grade school. I remember my lunch box. It was a little metal lunch box with a thermos in it, and it was Adam 12, the old TV show. I carried that for a couple years. I remember that one. Believe it or not, I did not have a Star Wars lunchbox when I was a kid. In fact, I'm not even going to talk much about Star Wars in this video at all. It was part of my childhood, but it's not my actual life. So, okay, so you have your brown bag lunch, your lunchbox, whatever you want to call it. Or, if you were lucky enough and your parents had money, you could go buy lunches, because even the poor kids didn't get free lunches back then. You had to pay for your lunch. If you remember the school lunches growing up, there was the pizza. We looked forward to the pizza. The burgers, these soybean burgers they gave us. I think they were made out of sawdust. We used to like those. The fish fillet sandwiches were good. And those little peanut butter kisses, which I still haven't found the recipe to make that, because I would eat those to these days. That'd be in the bought lunch. They didn't have the French fries and the fancy stuff back in the 70s and 80s. Or if you had a lunchbox, and in your lunchbox you'd open it up and you'd have like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Maybe if you were lucky enough, like I was, to have a thermos, there would be some Campbell's chicken noodle soup in there. And if you were lucky, it was still warm. Usually those thermoses didn't work very well. But the funny thing about the lunchtime, especially in grade school, when you went into the cafeteria, if you bought your lunch or you brought your lunch, you were separated. So there was a table of just people who had lunchboxes, brown baggers, whatever you want to call them. And all the people that bought lunches got to sit in the rest of the cafeteria. And I could never understand why that didn't make any, it still doesn't make any sense to me. So they segregated us. Put the poor kids over here and the rich kids over there. And I was a poor kid. It wasn't my money. It was my parents' money. They had money. But most of the time I'd brown bag it. And whenever it was pizza day, I'd ask it not, they'd make me use my allowance money to go buy my lunch that day so I could get the school pizza. But yeah, I just thought it was strange that they separated us. And in the cafeteria, a rule was, and this was during grade school, we used to carry these combs. I don't have one, but a specific comb, because back in the 70s, we all had long hair. It was a specific comb. It was a large comb, and all us kids used to carry them in our back pocket. If you didn't have one, you weren't cool. Even the kids that had short hair carried these combs. And the lunch monitors, who were usually other kids' mothers, would go, and if they caught you with a comb in the cafeteria, they would take it off you, even if it was just in your pocket, not bothering anybody. I remember Mrs. Moore, because I was friends with her kid. Mrs. Moore was one of the worst. She'd come and take people's combs. She got mine a couple times. Another thing I couldn't understand. I guess they just liked being mean. Other than that, during the whole school day, you'd carry that comb in the back of your Levi Button 501 jeans in the back pocket, and you were cool if you had one of these combs. I kind of carry a comb with me sometimes, but not like that. Not anymore. Maybe I'll start doing that again. Let's bring it back. Let's bring carrying a comb back. So that was lunchtime. After lunchtime, if I remember correctly, then we had recess, where they'd send us all out to run off that little kid energy. It was a nice day outside. You got to go play in a playground where they had the dangerous monkey bars and the seesaw and that the original slides that, if the sun was out, you'd burn your tail halfway on the whole way down. And we climb on things, no safety equipment or anything. Everything was metal bars. If you fell, tough shit, get up, dust yourself off. We did go through that. In fact, I even seen a kid break his ankle on the seesaw before. That was in like 5th grade, I think. But that's what we had. No safety equipment, no nothing. And you go play ball, kickball, dodgeball. You guys remember dodgeball, like the real dodgeball, where they'd have this big, giant red ball, and the bigger kids, the one that could really throw really well, would always aim for your face. Yeah, took a couple of those dodgeballs to the face. I still remember that sound. If you're Gen X, you know what the sound I'm talking about, of the big red ball bouncing off your skull. I'm sure you remember that. So then recess would be over, and we'd go back to our classes. And like I said, we didn't have no computers or anything like that, so there wasn't any computer club or computer games or phones or anything for us to play with. So what we had then is different clubs you could join. The nerds would join like chess club. When I was in junior high, I joined the rifle team. Yes, rifle team, as in competitive shooting. They had that back then. And I was pretty good at it too, by the way. I'm still a pretty good shot. And, the whole guns at school thing. It's unheard of now. Absolutely unheard of bringing a gun to school. But when we were growing up, the older kids that would drive to school, yes, you could drive to school back then if you had a permit and your license and a car. They would come with their pickup trucks and stuff, and you'd see in the back window, they'd have a shotgun or something right across the gun rack, right on school grounds. Do you know why? Because at the end of the day, they'd go small game hunting, or they'd go hunting for a deer after school when it was just no big deal. It's just what we did. I did it myself when I got older. No one ever thought to bring the gun into school and cause any trouble or shoot anybody. If we were mad at somebody, we'd meet them in the parking lot at 3 o'clock when school was over, and we just beat the snot out of each other. fight fair, no weapons, no nothing. And then you know what? By the end of the school year, whoever you were fighting, you probably ended up being good friends with. Not like today, people go psycho. Yes, that's a little bit of a rant, I suppose, but it's true. And the thing younger people never understand is this is how we had it. This is what we were used to. We don't miss computers and stuff like that because we never had it. That's why the younger generations are never going to understand what Gen X went through and why we are the way we are today. We've just been through it. That experience made us grow up fast. I mean, basically, we were all 30 years old by the time we were 13, just from our life experiences, learning, messing up, wrecking on our bikes, cracking our skulls open, beating each other up. We learned all those lessons, what to do and what not to do the hard way. Now, in grade school and junior high, there was 4 kinds of kids growing up Gen X. You had your jocks, you had your nerds, you had what we called heads, and outcasts. Now, outcasts we didn't really talk about. I was actually an outcast. That doesn't mean it's a bad thing. An outcast is someone that can fit in with all 3 groups to a point, but doesn't really classify under one. That was me. Nerds, self-explanatory. Those are the ones that were all into the nerdy stuff, the math stuff, and the science stuff. Remember, there wasn't computers yet. So they were just into the math and the nerd stuff. In fact, they used to dress on purpose like nerds. A lot of them were proud to be nerds back then. Yeah, sure, they got bullied a lot. It's just the hierarchy. It's just the way it was. Now, you might be wondering what's a head, because I said heads. Only a Gen X person, maybe only in Pennsylvania, knows what a head is. A head was a dude basically likes classic rock, or the G material, biker wannabe maybe. It's hard to explain. Usually pretty chill. A lot of the bullies came from the head. Most of them came from the jocks, though. Like I said, 4 different classifications. I was an outcast. I could fit in a little bit with each group, but not totally in one. And there was a lot of people like me too. We were just ourselves. I'm still my own person to this day. I can fit in with anybody. I'm a good person. I just don't really classify myself as one or the other. But, and then I was talking about bullies and nerds. I mean, bullies, it was a way of life back then. You either got bullied, or you were lucky enough to stay under the radar and stay out of it. And back then, the way to handle a bully was either stand up to him or give him your damn lunch money. I did both. When I was younger, I used to, but then I got sick of it. I started getting that German-Irish temper of mine coming through and started fighting back. And once you start fighting back, guess what? They leave you alone. Not anymore. No, they call the police. They have meetings. They have parents talk. Now, you know what? If your kid's being bullied, teach them how to fight or how to stick up for themselves or how to get even. Not pulling in a gun and starting something horrible. No, there's other ways to do it. That's all I'm going to say about that. I don't want to get demonetized because I think this video might be kind of interesting to some people. The music we had back then, especially more towards junior high when we were paying more attention to music, was classic rock, punk, and heavy metal. Those are the 3 mainstays. Dance music and rap hadn't really started till the mid-'80s. So in the 70s, there was a little bit of it. Some disco was starting to fade out. So it was slowly becoming stuff like, Run DMC didn't come out to the late 80s, mid-80s. This is pre-Run DMC. And I'm mentioning Run DMC because it's a group I happen to like. But MTV started. And so you could go home and you could watch MTV videos just like it was a radio. They played video after video after video after video. Not like today where they got all kinds of different shows. I don't even know if they have MTV or the videos on MTV as much anymore. I remember we used to watch the Headbangers Ball. That was a good show. Because remember, we didn't have internet and cable back there. We did have, our family had cable, but most people didn't have cable. They were still using the old rabbit ears on their TV. But our cable only had 36 stations. And it wasn't a lot to choose from. A lot of them were like, it wasn't even QVC back then. It was like Home Shopping Network and just the beginnings of all that stuff and church stations. And it's unfathomable now. You got hundreds of options now in your cable and internet. And of course, we didn't have internet or computers back then. It was just the very beginning. If you were lucky, you had an Apple IIe, or in my case, my first computer was a Commodore 64 in 1984. And we didn't know any better, so we didn't miss. Like, you look at the technology back then compared to now. It's technology back then doesn't hold a candle. I mean, we must have been playing on rocks. But we didn't know. And if you don't have something, you can't miss it. So we didn't know. We learned how to live and how to play. High technology to us was our 2600 Atari 2600 that we'd play video games on, and the color TV, which was gigantic console in the living room. And today's TVs are all flat. You'd have to look at pictures. Those things were huge. We had a giant console TV, and buying a console TV was a huge project for my father. We'd go to, it's called Montgomery Ward's. That's where he used to love buying his TVs at. We'd get one about every couple of years because they didn't last that long. And it was just a huge project, and set it there right front and center in the living room. It was the showpiece of the living room. And it was, color TV was about 10 years into being popular then. It's hard to imagine. We actually had black and white TVs back then. In fact, I had a small black and white TV that my parents bought me for my birthday, and that was the one I got to keep in my room with no cable. That was on rabbit ears. And I got to play my Atari 2600 on it. So for years, I thought a lot of these games were black and white. So by now, you're done with your class in school, and usually in grade school especially, it was you only had the one room to go to. We would leave for another class. We called it reading class, and we would leave our main homeroom, go to reading, and then come back to the homeroom, and our teacher would teach all the subjects the entire day, from first grade through sixth. Till we went to junior high, then we started having different classes. But, okay, so it's the end of the day, and assuming you're not going to get into a fight in the parking lot when the bell rings, you go and try to find your bus. Don't miss your bus, or you're walking home, and you go home. So after school, as soon as you get home, it's probably about, if I remember correctly, between 3 and 3:30. First thing you do is go home, you call your best friend. In my case, his name was Sean, lived up the road. You go to the rotary phone, you go, call him up, hope the line wasn't busy because they didn't have call waiting back then either. See what he wants to do, and then you'd hang out until dinner time. Usually, if it was a nice day, go out, you ride bikes somewhere, just run around till dinner time, which was 6 o'clock. And in my family, if you weren't home at dinner, you didn't eat. You got home at 6:05, tough, you ain't eating. They'll sit there and eat in front of you, just the way my dad was. After dinner, assuming you had dinner, and dinner was whatever was on the plate. Whatever was on that plate is what you had to eat, whether you liked it or not. Didn't matter. Just the way it was. After dinner, you'd have to go do your homework. In my family, I had to do my homework and prove to my dad that I did it before I could do anything else. And then I was allowed to watch TV until bedtime, which on a school night, it was always 9 o'clock. Always 9 o'clock I had to go to bed. And that was way too early. I still can't go to sleep at 9 o'clock in the night. Still, never could. But he'd I'd have to go to bed at 9 o'clock. My sister was older. She was never around. She was 7 years older than I am. So she was really never around. She always had her own rules. But me, at 9 o'clock, go to bed. I think he just wanted to get rid of me because he was always pushing me away. Except for Friday night. Now, Friday night, at the end of the week, if my dad was in a good mood and he wasn't too tired, once in a while we would have family game night. And we'd play Monopoly, or we'd play Risk, or one of the board games, other ones that my mother, him, and myself could play. Sometimes my sister would join us, but like I said, it seemed like she had her own rules, and she's 7 years older. She was always out with her friends doing stupid shit. But that was our school week until the weekend hit. So the school week's over, and now it's my favorite day growing up, Saturday. Go to bed after Friday night. Saturday morning, you wake up early, and you get out and you watch cartoons. And there was a lot of cartoons on Saturday morning cartoons, especially during the 70s. There wasn't just cartoons. It was Sid and Marty Krofft put a lot of good stuff out, like H.R. Puffin stuff, and Sigmund the Sea Monster, Hong Kong Phooey wasn't Sid and Marty Krofft. Stuff like that. And, of course, the old Bugs Bunny cartoons. We always have to watch that. Laugh Olympics. I mean, all that stuff we used to watch early in the morning and we got to watch it on the good TV until my dad got up. As soon as my dad get up, and if I was lucky, I'd sit there watching my cartoons. I get a giant bowl of cereal and a big Jethro bowl. If you know what a Jethro bowl is, then good for you for getting the reference. Eat a big Jethro bowl full of cereal, and Dad would get up, and of course, as soon as Dad gets up, he kicks you off the TV. He thought cartoons were for babies. He hated that kind of stuff. He'd turn on some kind of sports ball game or something, whatever he wanted to watch. But anyway, you were kicked out of the living room. But I had that little black and white TV upstairs, so I go upstairs and watch that for a little bit. And until they started yelling at me to do my chores, because Saturday morning, had to do the chores. Once they got up and started thinking up crap for me to do, I had to go do chores. Like, I had to cut the grass. No big deal. I don't mind cutting grass. We had a big yard, and it was a push mower. And it wasn't self-propelled. It was a big, heavy mower that I had to literally push up and down that hill about 100 times. Had to do that. Had to clean out the pool. I guess I'm having camera problems. But I had to clean out the pool and any other little job my mom and dad could think of. Clean my room, which my room, I never understand why they made me make my bed every single day. I don't make my bed here. I mean, I wash my sheets like every 2 weeks, but I don't think I ever make the bed. I mean, there's nobody going to go in that room. Just me and my wife. She agrees. Why bother making a bed every day? But my mom used to want the house to look like a showpiece just in case somebody came to visit us, which they didn't because mom and dad didn't have any friends. It sounds bad, but it's true. So, okay, get all the chores done. Then I get kicked out for the rest of the day. So let's say I got my chores done by like 12, 1 o'clock. Come back in the house. I'm tired from cutting the grass. I just want to chill. Nope. Go out and get some exercise. It's a nice day. So hop on my bike. First I call Sean with the rotary phone. Go meet up with him and we just find something to do the whole day. We ride in the woods. Go just find something to do. And those are the adventures. I decided this video is taking too long, so I will talk to you about what we do in the summer in my next video that I talk about this. But for now, I'm just going to do the weekends we did on school weeks. So we'd go out and we'd ride our bikes and go find stuff to do, maybe get a few other people together and try to get a baseball game going on in the public baseball lot near our house. Sometimes we drive down to the local convenience store and spend our allowances getting candy, just dumb things like that. We hide out in the woods. We used to like to ride our bikes in the trails back there, and we'd find a clearing in the woods somewhere, and we'd just sit around and talk and just get in trouble. We'd sneak some fireworks up there, other contraband. Sometimes we'd steal our parents' cigarettes and go up there and try smoking, or one of us would have a dirty magazine that they stole from their dad, that kind of stuff. And then the street light would come on. When that street light was coming on, you had to be home. Had to be home when that street light came on. My dad would give me about 10 minutes after the light was on, and then if I was home later than that, he usually got it grounded or an ass whooping. Parents handed out ass whoopings a lot back then, even when you didn't do anything wrong. Another story I'll tell you in the next video. Basically, though, we were left alone a lot to our own defenses. We go ride bikes, no protection, no helmets, no nothing. We're building ramps, we're jumping our bikes 20 feet in the air. And I'm not exaggerating. I've done it myself. We're busting ourselves up. I went through so many pairs of glasses wrecking on my bike. I broke this hand once riding my bike. My friend Sean, he broke his collarbone. It's just something we did. It is what it is. So that was our Saturdays. Now this is during the school year, like I said. Sundays, always the same thing. All depending on my dad's mood, though. One of two things could happen. Sundays, we woke up early and we go to church. Once again, no breakfast. We would just wake up. And to go to church, we had to have our best clothes ever on. So I looked like a little dork in a suit every Sunday. And as I got older, it was, I don't know, they don't do that anymore. I mean, you can go to church now, where the same church, they're wearing shorts and nice polos. I mean, they're still dressing nice, but no one's wearing suits anymore except for the ancient people. It's just, that's something to change. And I'm glad that changed because I always thought it was stupid to have to wear an expensive suit to go to church. But my parents always wanted everybody to think we were better than we are. I could never understand that. So we get to church, but the thing about church, the Sunday school was for the children, myself, before church. So my parents would drop me off to Sunday school. They would go get breakfast at a little diner around the corner. And I'd have to go to Sunday school hungry as hell because, let's face it, I was a fat kid. No breakfast. I had to sit through an hour of Sunday school, which was pretty boring. None of the kids wanted to be there. Some of the kids in Sunday school were worse than the ones I went to school with because this is a whole other town, so didn't know any of these kids from school. And like I said, parents went to breakfast and had coffee at that little diner, and then after Sunday school was over, there was about 20 minutes and then the actual church service would start. So I'd have to sit through that too, and I'll never forget, it was a 10:45 service. So we'd sit through that for an hour. Restless. No little kid wants to sit in church like that. And we weren't even religious. That's the funny thing. We would go when my mom and dad felt like it. Some weeks we didn't go. We just stayed home. But after church, now me and my sister, we're hungry as hell. And a lot of times my dad would take us out to eat somewhere. A lot of times he wouldn't, so we never knew if we were going to get fed or not. We did look forward to those times. One of the places we used to go is Pizza Hut whenever you used to be able to dine in. And we go to Pizza Hut and they had, I never forget that the video games, they used to have a Pizza Hut on the tables. I always thought that was amazing. and my dad would give me like a quarter or two so I'd go play 1 or 2 games, and then the pizza would come. That's actually a really good memory. And other restaurants, whatever he felt like, whatever he could afford. Sometimes he would go, he claimed he didn't have any money, so we would just go to McDonald's and they'd get me a Happy Meal. And the thing about the Happy Meal is I've never had a Happy Meal fill me up. Even when I was a little kid, he'd buy me those Happy Meals up till I was like 13 years old. And I'm like, I just wanted a Big Mac or something normal. But nope, here's your Happy Meal. Live it up. There you go, fat kid. And after we ate, this is probably about 1 o'clock now, we headed home. We drove home. We had a 1976 Gran Torino station wagon. Banana yellow. It was pretty new. My dad was really proud of that. He loved that station wagon for some reason. And this is back in the old days whenever I would be sitting all the way in the back. And because you could do that back then. You can't do that now. But we would drive home, and didn't have air conditioning. So we're driving home, the windows open. My sister's sitting here because 1970, girls had the big poofy hair. My sister would complain the whole time because the wind's messing up her hair. Me, I didn't care. I was a kid. But as soon as we got close to the house, my mom wanted everybody to think we had money, like I was saying. As soon as we got close to the house, my mom wanted to have they'd roll up all the windows, and my dad would be sitting there chain smoking. My mom wanted us to roll up all the windows so the neighbors thought we had air conditioning inside the car. There was no air conditioning inside the car. It's just in that little bit, especially on a 90-degree day. It was a nightmare. And getting all smoked out, it was terrible. And it's real hot. You're sitting there sweating on the windows. It was terrible. I still don't know why she did that. And then we pull home. It was my job to get out and open the garage door. We pull the car in the garage, and then we got out and we got to cool down. I don't know if other Gen X people had to do that or not, or maybe my parents were just weird. Maybe a little bit of both. I don't know. So as soon as we get home, we have to get out, go upstairs, get out of our clothes right away because my mom didn't want them to get dirty. She didn't want to have to wash them for next week. Meanwhile, they smelled like smoke because we just got hotboxed by a whole carton of Pall Mall non-filters. But yeah, hang them back in the closet. I still remember that smell. I could still smell the smoke on my clothes when I hung them back in the closet for next week if we went. And then it was chore time. No relaxing on Sundays. My mom and dad didn't believe that. If there was any chores left over, that's whenever we had to do it, whether clean the room, or my dad had projects, or he wanted me to help him wash the car, or whatever he felt like making me do. Do chores. And then we weren't allowed to go out and play on Sundays for some reason. So after the chore time was done, we'd have another dinner. My mom would make something on Sunday. Usually, for some reason on Sunday, she always made pork chops, and they were nasty. But that's what we had on Sundays, pork chop, mashed potatoes, and green beans. And then we just stayed home. We never went anywhere on a Sunday. I was expected just to spend the rest of the day in my room. So by now, it's probably about 6, 7 o'clock at night. So I go upstairs in my room. The only thing to do up there was watch that little black and white TV I had with the rabbit ears, or play Atari in black and white. And that's what I did. 9 p.m. comes along, that's when you got to go to bed. That was my dad's rule now on school nights. 9 p.m. Sunday, go to bed, 9 o'clock. My sister, once again, I don't know where she was. She didn't have to do it. The problem is, I can't sleep at 9 o'clock. Even to this day, I still can't sleep at 9 o'clock. So I just lay there and be bored. My mom and dad, they go to bed about 10 o'clock. The good thing about Sunday night, though, there was a radio show I used to listen to. It was called Dr. Demento. It came on at 10 o'clock, went 10 to midnight. And I used to sit there with a transistor radio and an earbud listening to it. He used to play funny songs like Weird Al and just old parodies, and it was just funny to me. So I would usually fall asleep to that until my dad caught me and flipped out. But it's what I used to do. Like I said, this video ended up being a little longer than I wanted it to be. I still want to tell you what the days were like in the summer because they're a lot different than school nights. But there's not enough time in this video, so I will do that next time. But Monday came and we started the whole process again. It was just redundant for years. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Like and share. Leave me a comment. Helps me out. I want to see if you grew up like I did in any way, shape, or form and what the differences were. But that's basically what my Gen X life was when I was a kid. Without making the jokes and stuff, just pointing stuff out. And younger kids are never going to understand this. We can explain it to her blue in the face. Unless you've actually been through it, you're not going to understand it. Sorry, guys. Anyway, we'll catch you next time. Bye.
Well, it seems that growing up Gen X wasn't as interesting as we have been told. Like and comment about your experiences if you are Gen X, and we will see if Bruce will talk about Gen X summertime in his next video. My name is Izzy. Bye for now.
It's just Bruce, he don't bite. Hello.